excited about my next upcoming guest on my podcast because I'm so familiar with him, the story, and his family. Let's get up because we got a yes from Pastor Richard Wilford. Just 9 short years ago, this family took Facebook by storm, telling a story about Angelo Wilford, who was fighting his battle with cancer. Ultimately, Angelo did not receive his healing on this side of God's glory, but that did not stop this family's fight. Let's look at some photos, okay? By launching the Army of Angelo and the Don't Complain campaign, this family reached millions, not just in the United States, worldwide. And they convinced people to lean on their hope and their faith in facing adversity and struggles that was out of their control, to put things into God's hands as you go through trials and tribulations in life. I was one of those people. I became a part of the Army of Angelo. I supported the charity event and the basketball, driving 2-3 hours away just to see them, just to be in the presence. Angelo was a beautiful spirit, and he touched so many hearts. But what he did for his dad is undescribable.
Once I start editing, I'll take that out. It's not a big deal. All right. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining me today on my podcast, Simply Winter. Tonight, we have the anticipated Pastor Richard Wilford back in the building with me. As y'all know, he has journeyed with me on a couple of different ventures in this podcast, but I think we got it right this time. With my growth and development, he's definitely grown and done a couple of new things. We're going to get off into this interview, okay?
All right.
All right. So to get a little comfortable, go ahead and tell the audience a little bit who you are and how the world came to know you.
How the world came to get to know me.
The world, you know, your story is like worldwide. Well, was at one point. I think things may have calmed down now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Angelo's story. Okay. Richard Wilford is my name. Born and raised in Gary, Indiana. Let's see. I had three children, 2 girls and 1 boy. One was Angelo. Was my only boy. Angelo, we found out had cancer, and the cancer was called histiocytic sarcoma. He was one of 2 people in the country that had it, so they really didn't know how to treat it. So we went through different batteries of test and chemo to try to stop the chemo. We had a 3-year fight, and in that 3-year fight, we turned it around and did some really great things, and tried to help a lot of people and inspire a lot of people. And he really did an amazing job with it. After 3 years, he did pass. And but what a phenomenal run it was for us to be able to share our story with the world. And I think it was the world that really helped us get through as well. And so we are so grateful for that. Grateful for you for sharing with us. Thank you for this opportunity to be even be able to share his story this far down the line. And I think we're about at 7 years now, I think. But it's been an amazing run, and it's still a run, even just recovery and grieving and regrouping and moving forward in a way that honors him, that gives glory to God and honors him. You know.
So tell me a little bit about your days now. Like, what do your day now consist of? Because we follow each other, we people.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I watch you on social media and like you doing these marathons and you on the beach doing exercise, like, and you doing these morning devotionals, so to speak. So
Yeah.
what is your day-to-day like now?
Well, how about 3:40? I wake up 4 to 4:30. I try to get on the floor, do some ab work and some exercise, and take off. I have to be to work at 5:30 to 3. And after work, I get off. I try to go to the gym, work out, take care of whatever personal business, and then from 7 o'clock, I'm sitting right here. From 7 to 10, I've made myself my second job, and I'm usually writing, reading, creating something, trying to grow something and to develop something. And so I've been doing that for a couple of years now. And as a result, I've just published a book of poetry, Inside the Mind of a Serial Thinker. And super excited about that. And about 37,000 words towards publishing my second book of poetry. Mm-hmm. So, we're excited about that. We're just doing what we can to make a difference. While I'm at work, I try to do a devotional at work to try to inspire people. I'm a preacher, so I love preaching and teaching, and that's my passion and gift that I'm truly called to. I'm not pastoring, and so I have to find ways to continue to do that because I love it so much. And so that's just what I choose to. That's what I do,
So, okay, so you hit on two different things, the pastoring and the book. So let's go back and let's touch on the pastoring. Mm-hmm. So what stopped you from actually pastoring a church? Was it your relocation to the West Coast?
Yeah. I pastored actually 20 years in Gary, Indiana. Eight years I pastored New Bethel Baptist Church, and then I organized a church, City of Praise Baptist Church, and pastored that church for 12 years. And then at that time, of course, in the interim of that, Angelo had passed. And so it just became a point where I wanted to kind of relocate, regroup, kind of restart. It was a window that I thought came open for me. And so we just relocated here. Of course, I didn't even candidate for a church when I got here. Actually, it was, I think now looking back, I think it was my opportunity when I first got here to kind of finally have the chance to grieve in peace, kind of like, because even through the ministry, even while ministering, I was grieving. And so sometimes grieving in public is not the best thing. Sometimes you need a break to kind of step away from it all so you can kind of really grieve and kind of regroup and kind of reset your life. So I thought it was wise to do. For me, I'm not sure about everybody else, but a lot of times pastors suffer in silence because we're going through, and yet at the same time, our call or the expectation from the pew and the congregation is for us to continue to inspire, uplift, excite, ignite, motivate people, when yet we're going through ourselves. And sometimes you need a chance to kind of taking some religions and places, they have what's called a sabbatical, where you can take time off to do those things. Not so much in our denomination or so, but I thought it was great. I thought it was the best thing. I don't regret it. I think it was the best thing I could have ever done for myself, was to come out here. I always wanted to move to California. So it absolutely was a dream come true for me. Yeah.
So the books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know. In my sick, twisted mind, I thought the first two were a part of your grieving process and a part of your letting it out, right? Like that was my interpretation. Like, okay, wow, this is a great way for him to let it out. And at the same time, so many people gravitated towards it because during that time, COVID has struck, like right after Angelo, we began to go through COVID, and a lot of people began to gravitate. And I definitely know I recommended it because I started going through death in my family myself. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was your outlet, but then here come these other books and other books and other books leading up to the brand new book, The Mind of a Serial. At what point or what actually sparked your interest in just being an author and saying, I'm just gonna lay it all out here.
Right.
I'm just gonna put it all out there.
Now, believe it or not, the first book. Now, this is not the first. What You Do When It's Not Your Turn was not the first book that I published. The first book I published was Light and Darkness. But What You Do When It's Not Your Turn was the first book I wanted to write, and it just happened for me that I said that I believe I can write, and so somebody recommended that I start a blog, and so I started writing a blog so I could really get actually the thoughts I had in my head. I wanted to get them out of my head and on paper somewhere. And so that's kind of how it started for me. And actually I looked at some point, I looked at the first manuscript of What You Do When It's Not Your Turn years ago. And it was about 2002. And I didn't publish it until 2017, which means that, good God, it's almost 15 years before. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people have things within them. Mm-hmm. You know, you got stuff inside. I always knew I had that. I always wanted to write. And so I started just writing. And I just started writing. And I would recommend that to anybody, just start writing. And you never know. And look how many years later, look how many books and look how much stuff. And writing goes from writing can go into music. I've written songs for people. One of the songs, of course, went #1 in the UK. I have a CD, a music CD, so it goes to music. You know, writing can go to movies. You know, it just branches out. You just never know, but you just got to start, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Out of all of your books, out of all of the pieces of work that you have thus far, not including the ones that's in your head, because I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite? Do you have a favorite? Or which do you consider, maybe so much not your favorite, because I'm sure they all your babies. Which do you consider your best piece of work?
Probably inside. I would say Inside the Mind of a Serial Thinker. And the reason why I say that now is because it's all poetry. And I was never an avid poetry person. I didn't read poetry. It just kind of came. And what happened was I started writing, and then it just kind of flowed, and the ink kept going. And it's still going. Like I say, I'm almost on the second one. And so for that, I'm really proud of that, because it's really a connection between me and God, and a gift and a talent. And as long as I sit here and make myself available, you know, I kind of sit somewhat out. It feels like to me like an out of body experience, something that happens that I'm in awe of. Now, the other books, you know, they're special as well, because just like Living Without a Limp is important, because it's really a book about how did we navigate once Angelo passed. How did we get through it? How did we get through that whole thing? And I always use the example, one day, Sky was at home with me, and Angelo's room stayed the same. Sky was at home with me. I went out, somebody pulled up with something. I ran outside to get it. When I came back in, she was in the bathroom. And I said, why are you in the bathroom? She said, I just figured I'll wait in here for you. And then that's when it dawned on me that my house, Angelo's pictures and everything was the same, bothered her, you know? So I said, okay, I have to kind of fix things so that we put him, the memory of him, in a place whereby it's not so overbearing for her. It's not an everyday remembrance. And so this is one of the things we talked about in the book. The recommendation the guy gave me was to find a trunk or something, take some of his special things and place it in the trunk, make the trunk somewhere where it's accessible to you. And then, you know, you got to move on with your life. It's one thing I talk about in the book. When you lose a loved one, you don't want to forget them. But at the same time, you know you have to move forward. So it's like you don't want to turn the page because you don't want to forget them. And then you don't want other people to forget them. But at the same time, you have to turn the page because there's life after this. You can't get stuck. Living without a limp suggests there are people that I know who have lost a loved one and they are stuck in that very same place. I know people whose houses are the same. They keep the room the same. They stay stuck and their life never moved on. Like a person with a limp, you notice something is wrong with them. Mm-hmm. These people you meet, they lost a loved one and their life never moved beyond that. I didn't want to do that, nor did I want that for my children. I don't want to live with a limp. So it's like, how do we live without a limp? How do we navigate the process in a way that we can take the time to honor his life? And one of the things I talk about in the book, the way I honor my loved one, because people got a whole lot of different ways. I met with a group of ladies, and all of them had lost children. It was an apartment in Hammonds, East Chicago, one of those places. But it was a whole apartment of ladies who had lost children. And I went to talk with them, and they were saying things like, on the month that my kid dies, I shut all the shutters and I stay in the bed for a whole month. And they had all of these kind of different ways in which they grieved. And of course, none of us can be judgmental, but there's some people whose lives have just stopped. And I was just trying to say, here's some ways to do it. One way is, in the book, I talk about live your life in a way that brings honor to your loved one. The way I celebrate Angelo's life is I do things and live my life in a way that brings honor to his life. That when people see what I'm doing, this interview is an example that one day I get to talk about my son. My life and what I've done brings honor to his name, that I can say it's because of who he is. And if I want him to smile in heaven, I want to do great things, if that makes sense.
You definitely overcame in a way that I did not expect.
Okay.
Because there's a little new twinkle in your eye, because there's a special new person in your life. And I was just in tears, like, oh my God, like I'm watching this Disney love story or something. Like, he's so deserving. Because I think in my mind, I thought once you moved away from Gary and the silence, because the silence of death is really what grabbed a hold of me. So I'm like, oh, the silence, he's going to be away from everybody. Sky only going to visit occasionally, Tiara and the girls, he's only going to, but you did a complete 360 and you like, no, I'm going to live. I'm going to write these books. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to work. And I'm going to also date and fall in love again. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what was that like for you?
Well, one thing is isolation. You hear people say all these cliche things. One cliche stuff like isolation. Sometimes God isolates you to elevate you. For me, I needed that. When I came out here, I tell everybody, because when I first came, I went straight to church. And church became frustrating for me because in a lot of ways, because I was new here and the way people treat you when they're new and they don't know you. And I really wasn't ready for that. But so what I did was I went to Walmart and bought a blue $15 chair from Walmart and took my chair and went and sat on the beach. And I think it was on the beach, sitting out on the beach, that God began to work on me, is what happened. I know that's what happened. And get me together. Because I remember sitting on the beach and then I'd get up and pack my stuff and I say to myself, sit back down, where are you going? I was so in a rush to always have to do something. I always felt like I had to do something. Here's the thing, you can't go from a caregiver. You can't do caregiving 24 hours a day for 3 years straight. And then one day it stops and then you go back to normal. That's no. You have to find your life again. You have to learn who you are, who God is again, and you know, it's learning you and learning God all over again. And that takes some time and growth. And I think I needed all of that. Really did. And so grateful to that. And I've done the work and doing the work. And I think as a result of doing the work, I think God honors the work that you do, especially when you do the work on yourself. That God send people. You know, I've learned that the more work I do on me, the higher the level I go, the higher level of people that I embrace now. And I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking about more greater quality of people who are doing great things. You meet greater people. And so I did meet, you know, we're friends now, just so you know. We're friends now, but an amazing person. And it was a great experience. And so happy about that. And so all is well. We're the best of friends now. And, you know, thanks be to God, you know.
At least for the experience. Yeah.
You know, the Lord will let me live again. You know, I think I had to, like I always say, people say, how you doing? I think I wrote somewhere, I said, people say, how you doing? It's like, you can't go through an intersection and somebody crash your car. And then people say, and you say, how you doing? People say, how you doing? You don't know. You can't assess that from the inside of the car. You got to get inside the car and look to see what damage is done. You know, you think you're all right, but then I'm pretty sure anybody who's went through the grieving process thought they were all right, but then you start seeing signs. You start seeing things come up and signs that I wasn't as all right as I thought I was. So you got to take the time. I'm just grateful that the Lord gave me that time and helped me, you know, again, even step away, even moving here gave me the opportunity. Because another thing for me was, as long as I stayed there, I never forget, me and Sky was in going to the mall. And we saw a lady and her mom, and she said, oh, hey, Reverend Wilford, how you doing? She said, Mom, you know Reverend Wilford? She said, and my mom said, no, I don't know him. She said, no, this is Reverend Wilford, you know, from City of Praise, whatever she said. And Mom like, no, I really don't know him. And she said, you know, the one whose son died of cancer. And so she said, but Sky's standing here. So it's like, you know, everywhere we go, it's like, oh, people mean well. But if everywhere you go, the only thing people remember you for is definitely your loved one, it kind of becomes a constant reminder. Being in a new place, nobody knew me. You know what I mean? Per se. You know, I think people still know the story, but there was less people that knew me, which gave me a chance to kind of have it
breathe. Breathe. Yeah. So Sky, speaking of Sky, he just had a special birthday.
18, good God, 18 years old.
That's crazy. It's like we watched her go from this baby kid to this teenager and now this beautiful young woman. How does that make you feel?
Honored. That you know, you want your children to get through it. You know what I mean? You want them to, it's not enough just for you to get through. You want your kids to get through. And again, what I'm going through and how I deal with it is totally different than, because I lost a son, she lost a brother. You know what I mean? And he was kind of everything as a brother to her, you know, and he would do all of the things that I know she continues to remember about him as a brother, you know, as well as Rochelle, the same thing. And then Tiara, he was an uncle to Tiara. Yeah, so Angelo had a lot of relationships, nephew to my brothers and grandson to my parents and all of his friends. Angelo had a slew of friends. So, yeah, but just watching them, and I think Tiara's 12.
I'm like, she's so tall.
Yeah, and so, you know, they grow up fast. And so I just pray that, the good of Angelo's life, they remember, you know, his courage and faith to get up and do it, that they would take on that. And you know what I mean? This is what I do. It's like, I think about, man, Angelo didn't quit that. I ain't no need me talking about quitting anything.
But my favorite was the car sing-along.
Yeah.
Those were like so entertaining. And it was just like, even though we knew watching and you all knew traveling that you were headed to a chemo treatment and stuff, like what What was the joy in those moments?
The joy for me was the way it started. The way it started was a guy said that he was going to videotape us from the time Angelo woke up, like a day in the life of Angelo. He was going to be there to video when Angelo woke up, and we were going to drive down to Indianapolis. We would have to drive 2 hours to Indianapolis. He would have to do 8 hours of chemo, and then we would drive back. He was going to stay with us the entire day to see what the whole day looked like. But at the end, right before he was going to come, he opted out. He couldn't do it. And so we were on our way, and I said, well, why don't we just videotape it? And so that was my first time videotaping. I videotaped him pumping the gas. And when we got on 65, I said, hey, let's do a video. And so I put the video up, the camera up, we turned on the music, and out came, it was the first video we did. And the joy in all of it was, for him, I think it gave his pain purpose. He began to see, I watched him take what was painful and all of that, and I watched him use it to God's glory to inspire other people. I watched him, and again, even as we would do it going down, and that first video, we did that going down, but we would do it coming back. Now that's 8 hours after he's had chemo, and he's in pain, and he's got a headache, and he's sick, and he's throwing up. But yet he was like, I never forget the day he was like, Dad, let's do a video.
Okay.
No, that's when I knew he got it. It took his mind off of him. Take his mind off of him. I think that is a message for people. When you get your mind off of you and let God use you to bless other people, while you are blessing others, God will be taking care of your stuff. Mm-hmm. We say, while on others thou art calling, do not pass. I'm telling you, while you're doing others for others, God will be taking care of your stuff. And I'm a little witness to that.
He taught me a very valuable lesson, because of Angelo and you and the journey you all took us all on with you. I learned not to complain. I still, like, if I catch myself in what I feel like is complaining, like I won't do it. Like, I will discuss if something upsets me or I feel like I need to address it, I will discuss it. Mm-hmm. But I won't complain. Yeah. I won't worry either. I'm going to pray about it, and I'm going to leave it with God, because if I'm keeping the record, I know without a doubt, at some point he going to come through. So whatever it is I'm going through, I just got to sit in it until God feel like it's time for me to come out of it.
That was his slogan for the whole Don't Complain campaign. It was, don't complain, because there's always somebody else doing worse than you. And another slogan we had that I still live by is it's not what happens to you. Things happen to everybody. It's not what happens to you, how you respond to it. Yeah. I learned a valuable lesson that you are in control of how you respond. You do not have to respond how people typically think you should respond. You should be sad, depressed, and no, you don't. No, you don't. And Angelo proved that. That's why it was so powerful for Angelo to say, with a port in his chest, with taking chemotherapy, with his hands turning black, losing all his hair, for him to say to people, if I'm not complaining and I'm in the hospital for 30 days, what you complaining about? You don't got none of these problems. If I'm not complaining with cancer, how you complaining and you got your health and strength? Come on.
So if I had to ask you, what was a particular phrase that has a lot of meaning for you, what would that be?
I would say it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. You have the power. You've always had the power. You've possessed the power within you to always respond how you want to respond. You do not have to respond. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. I think when I found that power, and it's like, I don't have to be sad. I don't have to be down. I don't have to be, I choose. That's why we would choose. That's why we would choose. When they told Angelo his cancer came back, I said, well, let's not go home. Let's get us a hotel room, order some food. We went to Walmart, bought some swimming trunks and some $1 flip-flops. And we went to the pool. And you get what I'm saying? You do not, God, I pray that somebody would receive that. You do not, I don't care what the news is or what's going, you possess the power to choose how you're going to respond. And you don't have to respond in the negative. You don't. You don't.
It don't change nothing.
No, I don't. No. Yeah. You can be depressed, but it's not going to make you, it's not going to help you at all. That's why we always took the high road. We would listen to the music, we would dance to stuff, and all of those videos still live. You know, he did a video. It was his video when I last looked, it was 4.1 million views. Wow. Most of the rap videos and videos you see don't make 4.1 million views. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah. You know, and he just really did a super job, and I am proud for that. You know? And the girls, you know, in weathering through it, you know. And they're all, Rochelle is in the Air Force. She's about to retire from the Air Force in a couple years. Tiara's 12. Tiara's an artist. Sky is an artist. Both of them got gifts. I'm like, go for it. You know? Yeah. Wow. So I just hope that they use it as an avenue to motivate, to push them, to fuel them to go on to do great things, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
So I asked the people of 3 questions to ask you, what would it be? And the question I received the most is, where's the other half to the real Will Radio?
Ben,
how is he doing today?
That's my guy. Ben, he's doing great. He's doing great. Ben is in Atlanta now, doing great. He's doing great. We still talk all the time, and he's in love. So he's in love, but he's doing great. And we still talking. Believe it or not, we still laugh about, you know, because Ben, when I left and moved, Ben rode out here with me, and man, you talking about a three-day journey of laughing and just having a great time.
And Twizzlers and Mountain Dew.
Yeah. I told Ben, once we got out here, I said, man, you didn't even know. I'm not even sure if the spare worked in the back of the trunk. He was like, are you serious? We had a 5-gallon can of oil. So when the light came on, we pulled the car over and put oil in the car. Yeah, I'm telling you. And believe it or not, once I finally got here and got in and settled, when I moved in about a city away, the first day I moved, the car was about to catch on fire. It was smoking, and it was crazy. So my point is, it made it out here.
Yeah. It was destiny.
Just to say, but we chose, you know, you can choose to worry. If there's any message, you can choose to sit up and worry about things that go wrong, what can go wrong, or you can focus and concentrate. You choose what's going to go right and what's going to happen great about it. And the good, you know, most times we spend our days worrying about what could go wrong and everything that can happen wrong. And we operate and live in fear instead of live in faith and be optimistic about what can happen. That's the side of the street I live on. My hand to God, that's the side of the street I live on.
Faith, family, and foundation. What order do they take in your life?
Faith, family, and foundation. Faith first. Faith has to be first. A faith in God, to trust in God. All of it. God is not in some control. He's in total control. He's a sovereign God. He's in control. All of it happens by him. And so faith has to be first, a God first. And all of it I owe to God to sustain us, to keep us. All of it is, I give all the glory and credit to God. Every day I wake up, I thank him because he didn't have to do it. We could have been gone by now, but thank God he lets us live. So faith, family is important. What's the other one? Faith, family, and
foundation.
Foundation. Well, faith is foundation. If God is the foundation, family is important. Family is important. Yeah, keeping connections as best you can. You know, what I'm learning is they change. The relationships change as you know. The babies want to be around the mom and the daddy. As they get older, teenagers don't want to hang out with. It's not cool to hang out with your parents.
No.
But you gotta understand that it's not that they don't love you, it's that they trying to develop their life, their social life. You know, Scott don't want to hang out with her daddy. They don't want to spend time like that because it's not cool. They rather spend time with friends and people of their same age, and no different than we did. It was uncool for me to want to hang out with my parents. I want to hang out with my friends, and so I get that. You know,
Yeah.
it's a transition. You know, with family, and so I think you reposition yourself to a place where you know you can't parent your kids. You can't parent grown people like this 7, 8-year-old babies. You got to move into a position where you could be, I guess, a voice of wisdom and a place where they can come and ask questions. You know, so.
So it's another question I wanted to ask you in this interview, and it's my last question.
Okay.
It's a lot of debate on all different social media platforms, but specifically right now, it's trending very heavy on TikTok about church hurt and how a lot of people that's in the world and that's seeking help come to the church, but they feel like the people that's already members and involved in the church are scolding and disciplining them with the word of God instead of using the word of God to encourage them and motivate them. What do you say to that?
I think church hurt is real. It wouldn't be unfair. It would be unfair to downplay it as if it doesn't hurt. But in addition to that, church is filled with people. People are human, and everybody got something going on wrong with them. Nobody's perfect. God is perfect. I think when we lift God and keep God and the word of God before us, and we try to live in a way that pleases God, then we have patience and love for other people. You know, when we don't become critical and judgmental of people. Our job is to love people. You know what I mean? Show people the love of God, and anything with them, God, you don't have to tell a person, you know, you don't have to tell a person that you don't have to tell a girl to change her dress or tell a guy to change the way he dresses when he comes to church. When God moves upon the heart, they want to do it themselves. It starts on the inside first. But you know, again, I'm not saying it doesn't happen because it happens. People become critical, judgmental, and all of that happens. But church is still the place where we believe God shows up in the hearts of people. People need fellowship. They need the word of God. They need teaching. You know what I mean? We need all of those things. We need a place we can go where we can bow our heads and get it right with God. And not that you can't do that at home. But church does serve a real purpose in fellowship, growth, Christian education, fellowship with other people of like minds and hearts. And it's a place where you can serve. You can give back to God through your service as well. So all of that still serves as a place. I just say find that place.
One of those social media platforms. And I was saying to them, like, in this context, if it's on your heart and your heart is moved to seek God to the point where you have that desire to go to church, then that means you're somebody in the world that's sick. Put it in a scenario of if you're sick, you seek the hospital, you seek the doctor. Then you're desiring God, you seek the church. And regardless to what type of doctors is in that hospital, you go for the treatment. You go to get what you went to get, and you shut all the rest of that out. And when you think about it like that, you're going to be able to go to church and just mind the business that you're going there for. You know, you're going for deliverance. And deliverance is a everyday, I can't say that enough. A deliverance is an everyday thing. It's constant. It's not once you confess and give your life to God, the battle over. No, the battle intensifies because the devil like, dang, you know, she's slipping away from me. Let her bring her back. You know what I mean? Like it intensifies. So I just try to encourage people like to look past church hurt because yes, it's real. Let's be clear, it's very real. But you have to know that we have to worship. It's no way around it.
Yeah, I agree like you. I use the example of the churches, like you said, the church is like a hospital. It's what I say. You don't turn around and leave out the waiting room because you got a bunch of sick people. And I've seen people in the waiting room laying on the floor, coughing, crazy, out of their mouth, all that. You don't leave the waiting room because you see that there. What you do is you say, I'm here. And I always say you can't be on the fifth floor talking about people on the second floor because everybody that's in this hospital is here for the very same reason. All of us show up for the same reason. We come to see the doctor. I'm here to see the doctor. Everybody in the hospital is waiting for their doctor to show up. I'm not waiting for you to show up. I'm waiting for the doctor to show up because the doctor is the one who can help get me healed. And I think when we are focused on why I came here, I came to hear a word from God. You know what I mean? I came to get what God has for me. I come to hear the word of God in singing, that it would inspire me. I come to feel the presence of God, that I might repent, ask forgiveness, get my life back together, be inspired, uplifted, to be able to give, to serve, to learn, to grow, all of those things. Those church is still the best beneficial place that you can be. I believe that.
It is. It is. I always think of that little song. My granny used to play it all the time when early in the morning on Sundays, like 5, 6 in the morning, blasting it, cooking, baking, making coffee. Like everybody in here getting up is come on in the room. Like you think you gonna lay in this bed, but this on repeat, Pastor Wilford, on repeat, that little old lady saying how Jesus is the doctor. And he write down all I said, when you hear it, like, baby, ain't no excuses. This lady not taking none. Let's get up, shower, get dressed, and get ready for church. So and I thank God for her, because like that song is like the pathway for our life. Like it's no excuses. It's just no excuses. The church is somewhere we gotta be if we want peace in our lives. Good. So at the end of my interviews, I like to do this little bucket of words. I pick out, well, you're not here. When we in person, the person pick out 5. I'll pick out your 5 words. When I tell you what the word is, you tell me what the word means to you.
All right, let's go with it.
Gosh, how many I got? The first word is focus.
What is it? Focus?
Mm-hmm.
Focus. Focus is important. You have to focus. You have to have, there's a difference between a shotgun and a sharpshooter. Shotgun sprays. A sharpshooter shoots one bullet in one thing. I think you have to be focused. There's a lot of distractions in this world. Every day, there's so many distractions, things to get you off your course. You got to stay focused by all means necessary. You have to make up your mind what I will do, what I won't do. Focus is so important.
The second word is observation.
Observation. Observation. I think observation is being able to see. Sometimes less talking, more watching. I think when you watch, if you watch what's going on, you can see. It's not what people say, it's what they do.
Yes, that's good.
You don't have to listen to what people say. Just watch what they do. Their actions speak so much louder than their words. And you get that by observing. You just watch how people move.
The next one is execute.
Execute. I think you have to execute. You can talk all day. I always say talkers don't do and doers don't have time to talk. You have to execute. Once you get done talking, how do I know that I am an ex-professional talker? People say, forever, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book, and never write a book. I told you, 2002, I've been talking 2002, 15 years, I wanted to write a book. And it's a great conversation. It motivates me to talk about I want to write a book. But if you don't execute it, it'll never get done. Somebody said to me, the book that you're supposed to write, you need to write it because somebody's going to go in the library reaching on the shelf for that book. And it won't be there because you didn't have enough focus and execution to keep your butt in the seat long enough to write the book, put it on the shelf. So you got to execute. If not, you just
momentum.
Momentum is important. That's why small victories are so important, and celebrate small victories. Again, I just started back running. I had to break. I was praying for a breakthrough. And so I said, sometimes your life gets in a lull and it's like, and you pick up bad habits. It's like, I got to break this bad habits of not getting things done that I want to get it done. So it's small victories. So I stepped out and I walked, and then you celebrate that. Even whatever it is, you celebrate it. And the next day you come back, you do more. What happens? Small victories make for momentum, and it's the wheel moving. Once the wheel is moving, it's easier for it to move. That's momentum. That's the whole purpose of momentum. Celebrate small victories, and then just move on to greater things. Momentum is important.
The next one is chapter, and I'm gonna end that with a question.
What is it? What's the word?
What chapter? What does your next chapter look like? What can we expect from you? We know another book of poetry coming, but what's in the next chapter for Pastor Wilford?
And what you want is relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I say, it's tough, but God knows how to get everybody's undivided attention.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you're going through. What's important to know is that God cares. God's interested. God knows and he cares about you, and he loves you. And God wants to have that right relationship with all of us. Now, where we attend is where we attend, but it's first a personal one-on-one relationship with him. Just like when there's church hurt and fallout and disagreements, it's between me and God. I don't let somebody come in between my relationship with me and God. I love God. I'm not here for y'all. I'm not here for you all. There's a story about an old lady who said she come to church and she's shouting. And they said when the deacons pray bad, she shouts. When the choir sings horrible, she shouts. When the preacher sucks at his preaching, she still shouts. And they're like, "Oh, lady, you just shout. I don't care what's going on." She said, "Well, I've learned that when the deacons pray bad, I just learn to look around the deacons and see Jesus. And choirs bad, I learned to look around them. The preacher, I learned to look around. I have to keep my eyes on Jesus, because that's what's most important, a right relationship with him, salvation, and just the assurance of knowing that at the end of the day, for me, what makes me so happy is I say to myself, I'm saved. It has nothing to do with material things. It's that I have a right relationship with the Lord, and I know he loves me and he cares. And he's a keeper. And I always say he's a keeper, even when you don't want to be. The next chapter for me is finishing my next book. This book is Inside the Mind of a Serial Thinker. The next book, unless God changes, it's going to be.
That's on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on RichardEWilfordBooks.com. RichardEWilfordBooks.com is the link to me. And if you purchase it through me, through my link, I'll hand sign it for you and give you a bookmark and mail it out to you. You can get it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble as well. But if you order it through me, RichardEWilfordBooks.com, I'll sign it for you. So it'll be a signed copy with a bookmark as well.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that I'm going to finish that I'm going to do. And I'm looking to do bigger and better things. Here's what I said. I said, Lord, if you open the door, I'm going through the door without question. And I ended up doing a stage play for the first time. I
saw little snippets. Yeah.
I've never done a stage play before, but just sharing with some people within my church. And there's a lady, Laura Vines is her name. She writes plays, and I was just inspiring her, get back to writing plays. And she wrote the play and said, I wrote you in it. So I couldn't refuse it, and ended up being in a stage play. And I'm saying, Lord, I'm not limiting myself. Whatever, however he moves, rather it be towards movies, rather it be towards more music, rather it be more writing, rather teaching people about being creative in every area of your life. Well, if you're looking for me, I'm going to be doing something. My hands are going to be doing something. I can no longer listen. My son passed. That was monumental for me. To me, it's like I can no longer be regular average, normal. I have to do the great, spectacular, above and beyond. I'm trying to jump out the plane again. You know what I mean? I want to do the great things because we don't have forever to live. Nobody has forever to live. I'm 58. I have way more time behind me than I do in front of me. And so I live with an urgency of life. Whatever you say you're going to do, go and do it. Go and do it. Stop talking about it. The energy you take to talk about it, just go do it. You'll be proud of yourself. You pick up momentum and you inspire other people.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me. I appreciate you for even accepting my invitation and joining me tonight. Guys, make sure you tap into Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or Pastor Wilford's website to order his book. You can order books.
RichardWilfordBooks.com.
You can order books from the past up to the present. And again, thank you so much for joining me this winter. And I'm out.